New York Comic-Con went down this weekend in the city that never sleeps, and the main cast of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth were present and accounted for, well, most of them anyway, at a panel hosted by none other than the legendary, the inimitable Matthew Mercer, to talk a little bit about what is easily one of my most anticipated games of 2024. The panel kicked off with the man of 1,000 voices strutting out on stage, clad from head to toe in a very suave, very crimson, wink wink ensemble, and rocking some purple nail polish, looking every inch the rock star of nerd culture that he has become. He was soon joined by the English voice cast of Rebirth, including Cody Christian, John Eric Bentley, Britt Barron, Max Middleman, and Susie Young, with Brianna White, the voice of everyone's favorite local florist, sadly unable to attend, but dropping a quick greeting via pre-recorded message. After some quick introductions, where the cast shared some fun facts about themselves, Matthew Mercer talked a little about his involvement in voicing certain NPC characters for Remake, mentioning one in particular, a Wall-Market thug named Vigo, before announcing that he would also be returning to voice a character in Rebirth, just not the aforementioned gangster. No, this time around, he would be voicing somebody I would wager a little more well-known, a little more important, and a little more integral, shall we say, to the overall story of Final Fantasy VII.
Let me also address some of these rumors on social media that I've seen out there. Some people have been making certain preconceived notions. I guess I'll go ahead and clear the air here. I am in the cast of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but I will not be returning as Vigo, the Wall-Market thug. I am happy to make it official that I am the voice of Vincent Valentine.
That's right, Matthew Mercer is Vincent, the sleepy vampire of Valentine. While this may not have come as a shocker to most of us keeping an ear to the ground or one eye on Twitter for even the tiniest new bits of info on Rebirth, it was still quite the moment to see the entire room lose their minds and erupt in cheers and applause, with John Eric Bentley and Susie Young joining in on the fun and very much embodying their characters' respective chaotic energy and enthusiasm, with John Eric Bentley even leaping from his seat to hype up the crowd in a way that only Barrett would be capable of.
Yeah! Oh, hell no! Y'all better get up! That's Vincent! That's huge! Come on, boy!
It was honestly just a beautiful thing to see, and it had me smiling the entire time. What a great time to be a Final Fantasy VII fan. Mr. Mercer then went on to express just how much getting to be a part of this project and Final Fantasy VII as a whole meant to him, and even mentioned how he reached out to his good friend and fellow voice acting legend Steve Blum, who had been the previous voice of Vincent in things like Dirge of Cerberus and Advent Children, to ask for his blessings, which is just so wholesome, so sweet, and further solidifies Matthew Mercer as one of the coolest and nicest guys working in the industry today. Later in the panel, he also shared a funny and rather touching story on how he eventually found out he had landed the role of Vincent after months of silence and not knowing on whether he had been passed up for the role or not.
And usually when you audition for things, you hear back often within a month or 3. This I didn't hear back for 9 months. And I just considered it the one that got away. Like every now and then I'd be driving and be like, so close. But some of the people in the production knew how much this meant to me, and they got me in to do some more background voices on Rebirth. I was like, hey, well, at least I get to be a part of this one too. Come into the session, they're like, we're gonna go ahead and put up a little camera. They just get sort of facial motion capture reference. I'm like, okay. And they had me read some lines. It was like Nibelheim Boy 3. And it's like, all right, so here's the Japanese ref. He's very young. And it was like 12 years old. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, just give it a shot. It's awful. I'm like super nervous, sweating in the booth. Like, why did they bring me in to embarrass me? And then suddenly the screen starts glitching out and there are pop-ups happening all across the script. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, sorry, we're having a tech issue. And the screen goes to black, and then the little text bubble comes up that says, or how about you play a different character? And then Vincent's Hudshot
That's
comes
awesome.
in.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
They pranked me
That's awesome.
to reveal it.
And this was probably the biggest news to come out of the entire panel, with the bulk of the runtime consisting of the actors mostly talking about voice acting in general, or sharing funny anecdotes from their time working on the game, like Max Middleman first finding out about Red 13 riding a chocobo, Britt Baron's dog falling asleep in the recording booth, snoring and effectively ruining an entire take, and Susie Young claiming that they would schedule her sessions in the evenings, as Yuffie's high-octane, off-the-wall personality would help keep everyone awake. The panel was rounded out towards the end with a surprise guest, or guests, in the way of Rebirth's director Naoki Hamaguchi and producer Yoshinori Kitase, the later dropping in via pre-recorded message to wish everyone well and get everyone even more hyped for Rebirth, as if that were possible. And Hamaguchi took a few questions. Again, nothing really new or surprising to be gleaned from these, other than one funny bit of info about Red 13's tail possibly spinning like a propeller while he's riding a flying chocobo. I mean, I don't know if this was a joke, but if this turns out to be true, then that's it. Pack it up, go home. Final Fantasy Rebirth is Game of the Year immediately. I mean, Red 13 riding a chocobo alone is gold. Him riding a chocobo, flying through the air, spinning his tail like a propeller, is diamond. I don't know. I don't know what else to say to that. Like, that's it. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to sink our teeth into besides getting confirmation that Matthew Mercer is Vincent and some of those funny stories. But in the midst of those stories, there was one particular moment that did make my ears perk up, along with, I'm assuming, most everybody who was in attendance in the hall at that moment. I wasn't. I was watching it on stream. And that's when Cody Christian shared one of his memorable moments from the recording booth.
I have a lot of funny things that happen in this game, in Rebirth. And I don't want to allude to too much because it does involve spoilers and things that occur within the game. But I will say this. There was a session that I had, and within the game, I feel like I'm safe to say this, something happens to Cloud, and let's say he just transforms into something outside of himself for a second. Yeah. And,
too much. That's too much.
And I feel like I'm safe. And I had to do one of the craziest scenarios and speak a different language in many ways. And it was so funny that it took me probably 30, 40 minutes to get through this chunk of dialogue. And when you guys see what I'm saying and play it in the game, I feel like you're gonna laugh your ass off too, because it's ridiculous in the best way. I think Cloud is such a goofball at the end of the day, right?
And there you have it. Just when you think this game can't surprise us any more than it already has, we find out that there is a moment where Cloud transforms into something and has to speak a different language. What? Oh my gosh, the moment Cody Christian said this, my mind immediately went in a million different directions, just trying to think back on OGFF7 to scenarios that approximate anything to what he's talking about. Obviously, I'm thinking of things like Cloud in a dress, Cloud in a Shinra uniform, Cloud turning into a frog. Like, I'm just trying to think, what scenarios does Cloud change into things in the game? Obviously, we experienced Cloud in a dress in Remake. Obviously, we know enemies can toad you, turn you into a toad. But I don't know what he's talking about. This game sounds like pure insanity in the best way possible. And I am just so happy that they are still leaning into the humorous aspects of the game. There was never a doubt they wouldn't, but it's just reassuring to hear that they know that FF7, the DNA of that game, is very much balancing humor with more dramatic, heavy, weighty story stuff. And it's because of those humorous moments that the more dramatic moments resonate that much more. When you're spending time with these characters, going on wacky and goofy antics, going to a theme park, taking somebody on a date, going to Costa del Sol and seeing Hojo, of all people, in his lab coat, lounging in a chair with his bikini-clad assistants around him, those were some of the most memorable moments in FF7, and we know that they are going to honor those because they already proved that to us in Remake. With the way they did, they blew up Wall Market to make it even better than it was in the original, with that whole sequence at the Honeybee Inn, the Coliseum, Madame M, Don Corneo. It was just amazing. And you know they're going to go in even harder with this game. Just by the sheer breadth and scope that they're attempting, this is just going to be epic. And it's also so encouraging to hear these voice actors be so enthusiastic about voicing these characters. Cody Christian especially, he just seems so happy. I think this is the first time, I think he mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, that he is doing a sort of like live, Comic-Con event where he gets to talk about Cloud, and you can see his energy, his enthusiasm is infectious. You can see he's having a great time playing this character who most of us have known all of our lives, and him not really being a gamer and coming onto this role, he's previously talked about how much research, how he researched the character, asking his brother, who was a gamer, to get him to give him as much info as he could, and you could just tell. And he embodies Cloud so well. He is definitely my favorite Cloud. Obviously, we only have one other Cloud, that being Steve Burton, which I think did an awesome job. He was Cloud for me during the Kingdom Hearts era and the compilation of FF7 stuff, and he did an amazing job. But, Cody Christian just brings his own take to Cloud while keeping the essence of the character. But he just gives Cloud this dry humor that is just so funny, keeping his tough guy exterior, but also having these moments of levity that shine through. Because as Cody mentions, Cloud is a goofball at heart. He's gone through a lot, so he's closed himself off. And obviously, mentally, there may be some things going on there that I don't necessarily want to talk about for anybody watching this who's not 100% familiar with the story and wants to stay surprised. But Cody just gets the character, and I feel like all these actors get their characters. And again, it's just so reassuring to see this. And this is going to be a great game. What do you guys think about his statement about Cloud turning into something, speaking a different language? I mean, we already know Cloud is going to get up on a Segway and ride around with his Buster Sword on his back, just wearing shorts, a t-shirt, and some high tops. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Honestly, this is like the love letter FF7 fans have been waiting for forever, myself included. I think Costa del Sol and the Golden Saucer are just going to be on another level. Again, my expectations for this game, I'm trying to keep them in check, but everything I've seen so far is speaking my language. So, yeah, there you have it. I feel like I went on a rant on the second half of this video, but that's just because I'm so excited. So, guys, thank you for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up. I'm a small channel hoping to grow, hoping to put out more content. Definitely just want to get in on the conversation for all things Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And we are only now, a little over 4 months away from the release of this game. It feels like a long time since Remake came out. Obviously, we went through some stuff. The pandemic was a thing. So that game actually came at a much needed time, but time has been warped a little bit, so it feels like it's been longer, I guess, than it has. But I'm just ready for this game to be out in the wild and for everyone to get to experience these moments that the actors are hyping up because they sound epic. So yes, thank you for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one.